And that's the problem with our system, is because they make such a good first impression saying everybody's guilty that it's hard to get a fair trial. But thank God we got jurors. They took hundreds of pages of notes, and it didn't take them, 2 hours to figure out this is all garbage. This is what your justice is in Memphis. So if you're black and poor, you got a problem.
You heard your attorney say if you're black and poor in Memphis, this is what happens. What would be your words of advice?
Leave Memphis.
Do you plan on leaving Memphis, sir?
Of course.
The state of Tennessee clearly wasn't after Hernandez Govan. They let him slide. But the whispers say the feds got their sights locked on Yo Gotti, and that's where things get real interesting. Just picture it. Stacks of paperwork piled high, witnesses pointing fingers, cops bragging about all the cooperation they got, and cameras catching shady moves around Makita's cookie shop. Cars parked up like vultures across the street before the tragedy went down. It all looked like the state had Govan cornered. Everything seemed stacked against him, like there was no way out. But when the spotlight hit that courtroom, Govan walked out free, like none of it stuck. The jury read the verdict slow and steady, almost cold-blooded. Count 1, not guilty. Count 2, not guilty.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Hernandez Govan, not guilty in count 2 of the indictment.
Then one by one, jurors backed it up, calmly saying, yes, this is my verdict. The tension in that room broke instantly like a balloon popping. And just like that, in a flash, the last man tied to the Young Dolph murder case on the state level was cleared. He stepped out untouched, while everyone else was left spinning with questions and wild speculation.
So let's just keep it real. This is all garbage. And
So why did they let this man walk free? Why release him when there were phone calls, shooters pointing the finger, and receipts tying Govan straight to the ones who squeezed the trigger? On paper, it makes zero sense.
You saw how they shaded off the phone records. Where are the text messages? Where's any of that from Justin Johnson to our client saying we're going to do something? I presented hundreds of text messages where he's threatening people, trying to go shoot people with others. Govan was never in on any of it.
But here's the twist. Word on the streets is the feds told the state to fall back because they're cooking up something way bigger, something that stretches way past just one dude. Think back for a second. Those earlier hits on Young Dolph's life didn't even happen in Memphis. Remember Charlotte, North Carolina, when Dolph's bulletproof SUV got lit up with hundreds of rounds? That wasn't some random drive-by, and guess what? Reports kept saying Yo Gotti and his brother Big Jook just happened to be in the same city at the same time. That's not luck, that's too many coincidences piled up. And it gets wilder. 2 people tied to CMG actually got arrested for those earlier shootings, and one of them is still locked up doing time. This ain't just smoke, it's fire that's been smoldering for years, and some folks think the feds are finally ready to blow the lid off it. Even Black Youngster couldn't dodge the heat. He once had charges on his back from that same North Carolina shooting, but look closely at his moves lately. He's been sliding away from CMG, the very label that put him on the map. He's no longer officially stamped with the crew that built his name. Now, why would he make a play like that? Some say he already sees the storm brewing. Others whisper he knows exactly what Hernandez Govan knows, the kind of secrets that make a man cut ties before it's too late.
I got a team around me that was very confident and supportive, so without them, it wouldn't be no me. They played a part in proving my innocence.
Behind the curtains, the feds might already be cracking into Yo Gotti's paper trail, digging through bank accounts, shady business flips, and backroom deals. The goal? To tie him directly to a murder plot against Adolph Thornton Jr., the world's Young Dolph. And don't think it's far-fetched. This ain't the first time prosecutors went after rappers by proving they bankrolled violent moves. They've flipped ledgers and receipts into guilty verdicts before, and if that same playbook is in motion here, CMG could be staring at the biggest federal case hip-hop has ever seen. And maybe that's exactly why Yo Gotti's been moving different lately, laying low, staying quiet, and avoiding the spotlight he used to love. No messy beef splashed across headlines, no wild stunts to grab attention, almost like a man who knows too many eyes are locked on him from every direction. It feels less like a career pivot and more like pure survival mode. Because, let's be real, the only real consistent beef Dolph had in these streets was with CMG. That feud wasn't industry hype, it was personal, and it only got nastier as time went on. The turning point? Dolph dropped the explosive track 100 Shots, a record that wasn't just music but a flat-out declaration of war. Then came Play With Yo B, and If You Know, You Know. Those weren't just diss tracks, they were like poking a raw wound, and according to the whispers in the streets, those two songs alone were enough to spark pure fury. That's when the talk of a six-figure bounty on Dolph's head started circulating, a deadly price tag tied directly to music beef. What began as competition in the booth quickly transformed into something darker, more dangerous, and ultimately deadly. Now let's get real about Dolph's own choices, because they played a massive part in how everything went down. People close to him swear up and down that he should have been rolling with armed security every single day in Memphis. The danger level wasn't a secret. Everybody knew the pressure on his name was sky high. While Yo Gotti was often spotted surrounded by layers of security, moving like a boss behind a wall of protection, Dolph wasn't built like that. He chose a different path. Instead, he'd pull up in those flashy camo-wrapped cars, ride so loud that everyone in Memphis knew exactly who it was the second they hit the block. That wasn't just flexing, that was putting a target on his back. In a city with one of the highest murder rates in the country, moving like that without serious backup wasn't bold. It was almost like writing your own death warrant. And tragically, that's exactly how things ended. One trip to Makita's cookie shop and the world lost an independent king in broad daylight. But here's the twist. While those choices cost him his life, they also cemented his legacy. Dolph refusing to sign with CMG, refusing to fold under pressure, and staying independent wasn't just pride, it was power. He owned his masters, he controlled his business, and he built generational wealth that would feed his family long after him. He showed the game that you didn't need a big label to shine, that independence could be just as powerful as a major deal. It was risky, it was dangerous, but it made him a legend in ways money can't buy. The harsh truth is this: now it's Dolph's widow and his kids left to carry the weight of his choices. They're the ones living with that hole in their hearts, watching the world praise his legacy while knowing the pain up close. And to make it even worse, one of the men once painted as the mastermind behind his murder is already back on the streets, free at least for now.
Yeah, and have my life back.
What's the first thing you plan to do?
Go hug my son.
The legacy lives, but so does the wound, and it cuts deep every single day. But here's what people forget: the feds don't play sloppy. They don't rush, they don't stumble, and they don't swing until they're ready to knock you out. They move in silence, stacking evidence piece by piece until the case is airtight with no cracks to escape through. And when they finally pounce, they bite down hard and they rarely miss. The stats don't lie. Federal RICO cases have a conviction rate over 96%. That's almost a guaranteed slam dunk. Just ask Boosie. He thought he slipped free after beating that gun charge, but the feds doubled back, patient and calculated, until they had him cornered. When the feds circle, it's never over. It's just the calm before the storm. So what's next? Word in the streets is the feds are already cooking up a storm behind closed doors, piecing everything together brick by brick. And when that storm finally breaks, it could pour down heavy on Yo Gotti and CMG. Because let's be real, even with stacks of cash and top lawyers, going up against the feds ain't the same as fighting the state. This is a whole different battlefield, and money doesn't guarantee survival. Once the feds lock in on you, that war is almost impossible to win. Which leaves us with some haunting questions to sit with. What if Dolph had actually signed with CMG? Would it have been a truce that saved his life, or just a delay before the same outcome? Could he still be alive today, moving through Memphis under the same flag as his rivals? Or was his decision to stay independent, owning his masters, securing wealth for his family, the right call, even though it came with the ultimate price? The truth is, we may never know the real answer, but the debate will live forever, just like Dolph's legacy. Make sure you like, share, comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.